Hi, Kyle.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Kyle, you're actually early. I'm providing a quick off-ramp for anybody who has other sessions in mind. In case you're doing a little session shopping, it's okay by me. There's a link up here in the corner that is to the tool. But if you would like to stay and hang out and talk about how useful chat logs can be, this is the session for you.
That's why I'm here. Looking forward to
Cool.
it.
Cool. Well, what's your background? What's your interest or teaching area?
So I have been a lecturer in mathematics and computer science for a number of years.
Hmm.
I landed at a university that had an active learning pedagogy across all of its
Hmm.
courses.
Hmm.
Um, Kind of helped with the transition with remediation reform. So looking
Hmm.
at
Hmm.
how doing like kind of like not so much a co-rec, but a stretch model.
Hmm.
So you can bring in a lot of active learning when you stretch the course out to a year for
Hmm.
first semester college level statistics courses.
Neat.
Um, and now I've transitioned into the kind of administrative side of things with like I'm the Canvas rep or the Canvas admin. So helping faculty a lot with instructional design and
Hmm.
accessibility.
Right.
And I think, one of the tools that I think gets underutilized or we don't have as much of a pedagogical alignment with is Zoom. So
Cool.
happy to look at, this presentation and see how active learning and Zoom overlap.
Okay. Well, again, we're a little early, but I'm going to greet folks like you. If you still have a few more minutes before the session, you need to go do something, please do. But
Sounds
otherwise,
good.
yeah, I just keep talking with you now. Take a few minutes if you need. Okay, so maybe some of you are still getting things together. I guess I see a couple of images. Please just turn on your microphones. I don't think we're a noisy bunch, and I would welcome your uh, just any sound you make I can go off of and figure out what maybe it was something I didn't say that was not clear, or maybe it was an impulse to speak that you might have had, and I would really welcome that. Let me also check and see if anyone else has come in. John, I've had a chance to talk with Kyle, Susie, and Kim. Could I just say hello to you and find out about your background and interest in Zoom chat logs for assessment?
I have no idea what Zoom chat logs are or how we can use them for assessment. I'm sorry, my little explanation here. I was drawn more to the idea of using this for more active learning in the online environment. So that's something I've just been working on this semester is to create more, figure out ways to create more opportunities for students to engage, particularly asynchronously.
Yeah. Oh.
Um, just for the class, but also to hopefully meet some RSI requirements and things like that.
Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. And tell me, what is the subject that you work in?
I teach geography.
Cool. This is more sync because
Oh, I see.
the idea is we are like, for example, right now we're in
For a live
Zoom.
chat.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so this is data,
Ah,
not only a hello,
oh, I see. Okay.
but hello as well, right?
Right.
So that's the idea. Um, so again, and for this goes for everybody. I totally understand if you feel like, I think I've gotten the idea and I'm ready to go check something else out. No hurt feelings. I'm a small fish in this big pond. So the link is up here to the tool that we're going to be using today, or actually not using. I'm going to show and tell and answer questions. It's really a simple idea, and it's very much kind of, to me, it's gold, and I think for Kim, who I spoke with earlier, she also has been interested in using this tool that's embedded in Zoom, right? So it's not like we have to send anyone outside of the program, which for me in ESL is important because I often will have students who are boxed in by their phone as their primary device. And so I won't get into the particulars of what sort of strategies come from that, because I realize we are from different backgrounds as far as where our students are coming from. Let's take a look at the tool real quick along with the chat log. Like for example, there's a way to save the chat that we started with here. I again in different versions of presenting this, I will encourage everyone to jump in with uh, their own comment. And so on. But we're not going to have to do that here. I want to just jump to looking at the tool uh, as I've had really good use with it, right? So and I hope it'll get you thinking and get you interested in what it might be potentially for you. So here we go. This is the chat log. There are 2 lines for every record. By the way, to get to the chat log, that's its own little sidebar conversation we'll get to. But all I need is to copy this. And then I'm going to go over to the tool, which you may or may not have already opened up. And I'm going to put it in here as is. And I'm going to have these options: names only, names plus times, comments only, and a comma separated value output. This bottom one, I think, has the greatest potential, but there's quite a lot that can come from just hitting submit with comments only. That's all we need, right? It's basically a set of find and replace patterns that allow you to then copy paste into whatever else is your working surface, so to speak. So if you do come in with, oops, sorry, I wanted to hit the back arrow. Okay, let me try it again. There we go. So I've got to put this in again. Oops, here. And I'm going to come into CSV for spreadsheets, submit. Oops, sorry, I have to go up to the top there. Something that's familiar, right? So we have name, date, and the data. So let's go over to what this actually would become when you paste it into a spreadsheet. Let me make sure I'm looking at the right one with you. So here it is, right? So I've blanked out student names, but this is, week 1, for example. There's your log stamp, it's date and then time. And there's the message. So the activity can follow from there. For example, in this activity, let me also remove the, don't need that extra thing there. So let's make it right. So in this case, I was just helping these beginning writers in ESL identify subject and verb. And it was just the start of that particular activity. Here's another use of the spreadsheet view where I organized student writing that came in by batches, so that then I had different readers that I randomly chose go through, and it anonymizes, it takes away the pressure for the writer to not identify when they're still working at the level of errors, right? I don't want to put pressure on, or just mechanical errors. I don't want to put pressure on them. So you get to have your reading shared with your classmates. You get to hear it read. Um, and that's kind of it. That's the main idea. There's so many different ways that this becomes relevant. Like, for example, if you've ever done a Kahoot and you realize, I'm not really getting at the student's reasoning and this multiple choice tool, which is a lot of fun. What if you ask them to not only send a direct chat message, and again, I shouldn't assume a direct chat is possible in your Zoom environment. You can have folks send you a private direct message so that no one else sees it, right? But you could say, okay, A, B, or C, or D, which is the answers to the problem, but explain your reasoning, right? And then you would take it into your text editor, sort it very quickly, and you can, along with the class, tease out what what some of the right thinking or misguided thinking might have been. Um, get first impression, words from everybody, choose a favorite word. There's everything. Basically, it's looking at the Zoom chat as giving you more than it would have otherwise. That's it. That's kind of the idea. So, reactions, thoughts, questions. And you may be trying it right now. I don't know. You may or may not be able to access the chat yourself.
No, I could access it, and I was just trying to find one of my. I don't have any active chat logs to dump in there,
I know. Oh, you know
but
what?
it's
They are
certain.
all saved on your computer.
I I have a new computer, and I
Sorry.
didn't I didn't port everything over, so it's somewhere on a hard drive. But I can see right away that this your little widget here is a big time saver. I'm going to definitely bookmark it because
Nice.
um, after just about every professional development workshop that I do, I will provide the chat log for people, and trying to clean them up and organize them is kind of a disaster. So that'll be really helpful. Thank you, Vincent.
Thank you. And that is absolutely what this is. It's a cleanup tool, Kim. Yep. Yep. So it's just, so again, Kim, I'm curious, could you explain some of the things that you have used the chat log for? What are some of the prompts? I think you said communication studies.
Well, so typically I do for my communications. We don't have access to Zoom and I don't have access to chat logs in those ways.
Mm,
So, the school that I teach for doesn't do that.
mm,
However, at Skyline, I do a lot of professional development workshops.
mm,
And a lot of I'm a distance education coordinator, so a lot of my work are either online only or they are hybrid. And I use the chats constantly. Um, I don't really talk to people for more than, say, 10 or 15 minutes at a time. And then I always have
mm,
a pause. And then
mm.
I'll have a discussion and, I'll prompt people in the chat, just interacting with what we were just working on, questions, answers, etc. And then after the sessions, I will take those chat logs, clean them up, and then send them to the people who showed up. So yeah,
That's
pretty
cool.
basic stuff. Yeah.
Well, but that's just it. It's though. So you decided to do that though because there was good stuff in the chat.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, of course, what Zoom will do, the chat logs will also let you download the quote unquote private discussions between people. So you have to clean it up a bit, especially
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
you don't want to put certain people on blast. You have to be a little careful about that.
That's all right. Yeah, no,
Does
yeah, go ahead, please. Let's open it up, Kyle.
does you mentioned about the private conversations or whatever, but does Zoom capture the chats from the breakout rooms and distinguish them, or is it just in the main?
No, just in the main.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's just the main.
Hmm.
Because I've found that to be the case with the AI summary, which I use in a very similar capacity as well.
Yeah, this is more sort of quick Q&A call response. Especially if you use that lever to encourage private communication, direct communication uh, to you for answers. If you choose to anonymize the input or keep the name with it, and then you can pull it up. You have to be or feel comfortable enough, nimble enough with your text editor to sort or, do a quick find and replace again with those direct messages that Kim was talking about. And it's like, hey, teacher, I can't talk right now. I'm at work, but I still want to listen to class, that kind of stuff. So Kyle, you had mentioned that I don't know if it was compliance, but or wasn't it? Or I mean, you were thinking about the Zoom as something that hasn't been really kind of vetted at some level. Was that you?
No, I guess what I was saying is just that um, what I think Zoom was likely adopted as a telecommunications tool prior to the pandemic. And the
Mm,
pandemic, that's when I think instructors really took to it as a curriculum delivery tool. But there
hmm
wasn't, I think, any pedagogical alignment that came along with it. So, as online curriculum and synchronous courses, and I think a lot of that space was really for many instructors that just responding to the pandemics where a lot of that came from. And
hmm
as a, educational developer, I'm just trying to kind of connect pedagogical best practices to the educational tools, the technology tools that we're using. And
hmm hmm
so that's why, when I had the opportunity to start playing around with things like the AI summary, it was really, really inspiring to me. And I think, what you're talking about with this chat-based tool,
hmm
is also something very similar.
Well, what I appreciate, and again, I did the AI chat summary, and it was amazing, but it's a very different animal from what I think the potential is here in terms of especially validating student writing, validating how students express themselves, and then working with that. Again, I'm a writing teacher in this different levels, ESL beginning, ESL advanced. So there's a lot of that for me here. And I kind of think about John's comment earlier about how he's interested in, I think RSR stands for, what is that, John? What does that stand for? Um, uh,
Oh, the regular and substantive interaction.
Yes, RSI.
Yeah.
The trick there then is, I think again more for the online, purely online courses, and it does go to how, for example, if there's crosstalk where students direct message one another within Zoom, that's not going to show up in the main room transcript. So I wouldn't be able to document that. I'm sure it exists somewhere in Zoom, and maybe that would be something that could be chased down. But again, going back, Kyle, I think that it's a pretty interesting point about how whether or not Zoom is the right tool. I mean, it's got some stuff. I see Matthews. I didn't realize there's another person here. Could I just get a context for you, or if you have any questions or particular spin on what this is?
Yeah, for sure. And I feel bad that I showed up late because I'm down a little rabbit hole trying to catch up. I'm like on your website looking at your video about the tool
Oh
and
my
I'm
gosh.
in the tool. I've copied a Zoom chat in there and then I'm trying to figure out what it does. I'm like backwards designing this presentation. So I apologize. Um,
So sorry. Well,
no, no, it's
basically, I
okay.
put my presentation on a bubblegum wrapper. Really, it's just like, and I love Kim just said, it's a cleaning tool. It's a cleanup tool, and it's
Got
just that it's surprising to me that Zoom doesn't actually provide something like this. I mean, I would think they would at some point because otherwise, they're kind of offering this really heavy front end of it's like you can do AI. Yeah, but you could also just do it yourself. What
So
what is
there's
your yeah, which I was just
uh,
going to ask
I,
about your background or interest, Matthew.
Yeah, so I'm the dean of academic affairs at Santa Ana College, where
Oh,
you are,
okay.
and I'm relatively new to the college, which is why you probably don't know me. But I work with
Sorry.
Yark, and I actually just texted Yark on the side. I said we got to get this guy into the outcomes assessment committee. And I'm just obsessed with outcomes assessment. It's like my most passionate kind of area, which is makes me a complete nerd. But I'm in there, and then I've copied a Zoom chat,
Yeah,
and when I click submit, it doesn't really do anything but just kind of send it back in the same format. If I can share my screen.
please do.
Okay, sorry about
Yay,
this.
live troubleshooting.
And if everybody, I know, I I feel bad that if I'm taking
No
time to explain,
way. No,
it
look,
just
I'm
feels like
I'm
this is
amazed.
kind of a
There we go.
working. All right, so here I am, and
Yeah,
I copied. There's nothing personal on this. It's like literally
good.
people were just sending links to each other here.
Good.
And then and so
Yeah.
when I submit it,
Yeah. Yeah.
what is the benefit here? Are we cleaning it up so it's only names and lines? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, so you see Matthew, and so what you would do in this case, depending, right? So why don't
Mhm.
you do it names and times, for example, and you'll see the difference. Oh, yeah. So now you have the name and then the time.
Got it, got it, got it. Okay, cool. And then from that, how do you use that sort of cleanup for your own purposes?
Oh, you may have come in a little later, so let me just jump over here. This is what again, I kind of did this in a split second. Maybe I'm just nervous. But once you go into the comma separated value option, which is the bottom one in that form, you
Uh,
would just plunk it into a spreadsheet. And then with your spreadsheet, maybe you recognize, okay, that was that activity I did, and those were the preliminary comments, and these were posts. I'll just mark it up, and I'll have a record for these students, right? I've obfuscated the name of the different senders, but that becomes, of course, that comes in the context of a response to an activity. So, for example, in this activity, these beginning learners were being introduced to just subject and verb, and so with them, I walked through from their sentence, what the thing is that they need to look at. I have several other examples I could show you, but basically, here's another example. The students were working with nouns, and so I wanted to break it out into groups that they could read out loud in terms of what the way that they see it. They're not seeing this huge spreadsheet. I zoom in. I guess I can demonstrate it here, right? So reader two, okay, so go ahead, Matthew, you'll read that sentence. Really good job. And we'll go into the next one. But you did not write this. This is from different students in the class, but I'm able to harvest these, so to speak, right away, right after the activity. It just takes me a moment to, you know, pull those together.
Interesting. Okay, thank you so much. Sorry I came in late.
No, 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 of course. But again, as I feel like it validates the student voice rather than brings in the thickness of what AI is capable of, which is amazing. Oh, I'm so sorry. There are other folks here. Tracy, Laureen, Dina, Bruce, Kennedy. I only saw the folks that had their camera on. Laureen, Dean, Bruce, so Rebecca. Any of you, please, if you would just turn on your microphone and just ask a question, but the link is up here. It's just a simple, cleanup tool that gives you options. You don't always go to a Zoom and have access to your Zoom chat log, but it's available when you click on, it should be available in this session. But I didn't set up the preferences, so maybe it's not. But when you go to the chat, there's a tiny little three-button menu at the very top. You would click on that, save the chat. Oh, Kim, thank you. Providing edited Zoom trans after directions could meet criteria C for substantive interaction. Awesome. Thank you, Kim. Um, and so then you would save it to your desktop and pull it up. And as I jumped in and interrupted Kim, but the point at the very beginning I was eager to share is that if you're still on your old computer, all of your Zoom chat logs from time immemorial are saved. So, I mean, you have a record of your students' work. Again, for me, as I teach writing and emphasizing grammar and vocabulary acquisition for beginning and advanced ESL, there's a reason that I want to go through and to see, who is participating, at what level are they participating. I can circle back to find out, of course, Laureen. Thank you. And again, anybody, if you're done, this was kind of a short session in a sense, but I'm just sharing my enthusiasm for what it means to make to go just a little bit under the hood, so to speak, with what is almost a side, it's treated as a sort of side effect. You get this little download to your computer. What do you do with it? You can actually, at least especially at the beginning, you know, make it and turn it around into an activity. But over time, as I was going on to say, you can develop a real log of how well balanced, in a sense, your class is as far as, the evidence goes of the chat log. So that's a long way of saying there is a kind of memory here in this record that has a lot of potential depending on who you are and what you want to do with it. Any other questions?
I it, I'm inspired by this because I think just even the thought of using chat as a assessment tool, right? Like that that is the vehicle of product that that they're generating, right? And I think
Hmm.
the use case that you gave is a good example of that. But I'm trying to think through like what would a lesson plan look like where the chat is the submission, and how does that vehicle, like what is it that we could be taking advantage of that vehicle
Hmm.
more so than a traditional writing assignment. And I think interaction is part of that. Now that's okay. So now how does that compare to say like a Canvas discussion post, right?
Hmm.
And so yeah, and then anyway.
Well, if I may, what if, and I don't know if this is possible in Zoom, the students themselves could launch Zooms or maybe in breakouts. You know, at a certain level of sophistication, maybe the students themselves could harvest the chat transcript and provide, this is how we put together our group project. They would, in other words, have that management of the evidence, the evidentiary document, so to speak. What was your process? How did you tackle this problem? Here's our
Mhm.
transcript, right?
And the
Uh,
other place this makes me think too is I don't know if anybody's been using any of these kind of like writing trackers where you can like press play and watch the writing process
yeah.
live, right? And there's something really transformative the first time you watch that, where you see a student rewrite the first sentence over and over and over again. And then they get
Mm,
into this zone and then they're just creative and they're producing, right? We
mm,
don't assess that, right? We assess the final product. And I'm interested in ways that like, how can we assess that process that we're watching through that video?
mm,
And can we like come up with some sort of a rubric about what that looks like?
mm, mm.
Similarly here, like, is there something that we could come up with that would be like what we're looking for in that chat? Um,
Well, again, that is mighty. I really like the sound of that. So I just say it sounds great. Uh, I'll offer that other example I offered in passing just because I'm not sure that it was just kind of rushed. But if any of you have been familiar with Kahoot, again, all you get from that is, the students got an A, B, C, or D, right? Correct or wrong, right? And it gamifies it and it's great. But what if I got you to provide answers? You'd have to get everybody on board to what it means to sort of organize their response. They would provide that A, B, C, or D, but then they would provide, and you could rubric this or at least give a sense of what you're expecting, a explanation for why they chose that answer. All right, so that's already a bit more engaged in what it is for them to own their critical, reflection. And then you anonymize that by stripping out both the names and the date stamps, and you present it. You sort it. You can just see, okay, well, looks like most of us got it right or got it wrong. Let's dig into why we got it wrong. And so that becomes another piece of making learning or learning not yet learning visible. So again, this is the right crowd to bring this to. This is something that again to me has always been about uh 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 not just being a talking head, but getting so much more out of the moment. And I know that right now it's not really demonstrated because this is not that kind of format, but uh yeah, there you
have,
go.
have you or anyone else, I guess here really, um, it makes me think also about the Canvas discussion summary, this kind of AI feature that they've turned on in the last few months. And I think the benefit in that scenario is, let's say you've got some very large course, 100-student
Hmm.
course, and you've
Right.
got this discussion prompt, and you could go through and be trying to, try to assess each of those individual students' responses. But maybe the purpose really is like, are they in general on the right track? Like, are they engaging with the prompt in a way that demonstrates what you were expecting to get out of it? And I think
Hmm.
that the AI summary does a good job of that. And there's some things that you can try to do, like you can try to hone in on particular concepts, and you can try to pull out like what the actual responses are to a particular concept or whatever. And so I'm just wondering what um, that process might look like here too. Like, um,
Yeah.
is it like a more traditional qualitative analysis approach, or is it, something where you would feed it to an AI to do analysis?
It totally depends, doesn't it? Because again, once that spreadsheet, I didn't have a need to continue to build a single master table of all the utterances across, a semester, for example. But you certainly could, and you could feed that to an AI. It's like, what patterns am I not seeing here? I'm interested in these student learning outcomes. Does it seem like I've achieved it? That sort of thing could be yeah, right up the alley of a much more sophisticated thing. I mean, this is to me all about opening up a window to something that's right there next to us in this tiny little stream of our Zoom sync session. So, but again, I felt kind of foolish realizing that there are a number of other folks in the room that I haven't heard from. So, is there anything else from other folks who have, um, you know, not had a chance to talk so much, or is this scratched an itch, or just a light bulb is going off? Laureen or Dina, Bruce, Kennedy, Rebecca, anybody?
Hi, this is Tracy. I have a couple of questions, maybe.
Please, please.
So I apologize. I had to return late to the computer and just got back into
Okay.
this midway through. So
Yeah.
I missed the beginning of your presentation, and I don't want to sort of make you double back by any means, but I am kind of curious about
Yeah.
the the ongoing aspects of this that could be used in many different ways, even beyond sort of classroom-based pieces, and thinking about how many meetings we host, for instance, that are still virtual, even if we show up on campus,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
how this has a potential to make things much more interactive. I find Zoom meetings have gotten more and more banal, I guess, because over time we were like, oh, we kind of know how to use it. Like during COVID, we were trying to
Hmm.
figure out all the little widgets to it. Now we're just like,
Hmm.
whatever, show up and let's talk. But we become talking heads. And so, have you had any success in making things much more interactive with your colleagues by using this?
I don't have that role, Tracy, as I'm not an admin. Of course, though, when I do training, I do have that excitement. But I tell you one thing that this reminds me of a light bulb of my own that I'm sorry, that isn't my own. And it's that basic question of, okay, teacher or institution, you just measured me, right? What are you going
Hmm.
to do with that?
Hmm.
How are you going to turn that around so that I can see some kind of thing that shows that I didn't just jump through your hoops for, your amusement. So, in other words, after those meetings, someone who processes the transcript and turns it around, I think would be appreciated. Because the number of times I've been to flex development or professional development or an obliged meeting and the chat was really engaging. And I think this was a point you made too, Kim. It's sort of like this, there's no follow-up. How come I don't get to see the transcript that was where the really interesting debate happened? And there was a lot, and I'd like to have follow-up like that. So if that's kind of related to your point, that's absolutely, I feel that.
Okay, thank you for that. And then also, does this is sort of referencing, or you were referencing chat in Zoom earlier, but could I just ask for clarification? Is it a chat from any of the different modes that you might have, or the different platforms that we might have? For instance, an LMS chat or um, postings.
Thank you. Perfect question. And the answer is that is, as far as I know, only going to be for Zoom because this is a pattern. Well, how about just search and replace based on the
Mhm.
unique qualities of a of a chat. in
Got
Zoom.
it.
And so whether or not those other ones do the same, but when I send the messages early, right? So a record is, um, 2 lines. You have the data
Mhm.
information at the front, the originator, the destination, and then, sometimes there are multiple lines thereafter. So it certainly could be done for other logs, no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And again, I don't mean to you know push anybody. You may yourselves be quite fine lurking, so to speak, or in the back row. And that's entirely all right. I hope that you're not disappointed that this is much simpler and much in a way lower level than quite a lot of the very interesting and important conversations that are out there. So, uh, if I don't intend to keep anybody. I just am glad that this has been a space so far for the conversation that we've had. If there's anything else, the cylinders firing for you, just maybe a couple of points. This is an option, to make the transcript available. So if you don't see the transcript available, you might ask for it to be made available. Now, again, going back, sometimes there might be an interest in the privacy of the participants. The host may have certain policies, and they would prefer not to. So you'll know that difference, I'm sure. Um, Privacy, of course, extends to the students. I wanted to not present students' names, even though, of course, there's very little likelihood of any of you, violating their privacy. But yeah, it's data. It's just that it happens to already live on your computer because it's one of those side effects that it's downloaded as the host to your computer. So why not get as much out of it as you can? So again, thank you, everybody. I don't want to dismiss or send anyone out. Laureen, are you someone who just came in? If I could answer any of your questions, or if anyone would like to, and thank you, Kim. You have a great day as well. If anyone would like to jump in or thank you, Kennedy. If there's anyone who'd like to hang out and talk about other stuff. Otherwise, I really appreciated your time, and I don't want to pretend that I have more to say. Thank you, Dina. Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. Oh, okay. I'm glad, Matthew. I appreciate it a lot. Nice to meet you. Cheers. Great. Yeah. There's actually more I could share, but this is what this workshop is about.